Welcome, everybody, to this episode of Work Punks, in which we again answer work related questions from you, our audience. Of course, Work Punks are Colin Newlin from the Crapify Work, Ben Simpson of Vital.org, and myself, Paul Janssen of TrustWorks. Um, our first question, Colin, to you.
Yeah, okay. So the first question we have is somebody saying, as a leader, I want to be there for my team. They keep bringing me problems and the workload is overwhelming. And this one very much resonated with me. It took me back to I just changed jobs and I'd taken over a team of product managers. Um, and I couldn't get on my work because they all kept bloody queuing at my desk. And being fairly lazy, I thought, how can I get rid of these people from pestering me all the time? And besides which, like they knew their stuff. I was new to I knew a little bit about the area, which was electronic mail, but I didn't know their areas. Um, so this is how I sort of accidentally got into coaching, really, because I started having discussions with them. I'd say, well, I can't answer it now, but let's have a meeting and we'll set aside half an hour to go through this. And and I'd have to ask them questions because I didn't know their stuff. Um, and I found that the more questions I asked them, the more often they came up with an answer, um, which is brilliant. And what I found was over time that they stopped coming with the problem and they'd come with the problem and maybe some suggestions. And then a bit later on, they'd come and say, well, I've done my analysis, which is this. And I think this is a problem. I've done my analysis. These are my suggestions, and this is the one I want to go with. And I say, that's great, get on with it. So it did create a bit of extra workload to start with, but the payoff in the long term was, massive because it meant they basically were getting on and solving the stuff themselves, and the queue disappeared. But of course, the other really important thing is it developed them as managers, and it taught them how to sort of think, um, and also to be comfortable taking on the responsibility for their areas. So yeah, that was my experience. But I have to say, I mean, sometimes you just can't avoid it because there are things that have to come through you, and sometimes you just have to grin and bear it. But always ask yourself, how can I stop these bloody people annoying me?
Of all that Colin said, one of the things that I really like the sound of the most is that through practice, the the team got the message that actually a bit of diagnosis is a good thing to do. And very often, we either people arrive at your desk saying, I don't know what to do, and they've not really thought about it, or they come with a pet solution and there's an emotional attachment to the to the solution, but less rigor in terms of actually determining what the problem or the causes of the problem or opportunity are. So I love the fact that there's that process was a happy consequence for Colin teaching himself how to be a coach. Sounds great. So yeah, I mean, the more you answer people's questions, the more you make decisions for other people. The implied or the expressed permission, actually, there is uh, don't bother to think about it yourself. Just kick it upstairs to me, and I'll sort it out. So that is going to be a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So another good reason to do something else. The other thing that I would throw into the mix is one of my pet things. So yeah, just flag that prejudice. Um, it's this whole idea that of no one's as smart as everyone. So where there is a particularly knotty problem or a challenging challenge to get our heads around, um, rather than you as the team leader being the font of all knowledge, there is actually the opportunity to gather a bunch of people, maybe your team, maybe perhaps better with some folk from outside the team as well, with different perspectives, skills, and experiences, and do a bit of collective problem solving or decision making. This is Matthew Syed's idea of cognitive diversity. He wrote about in his book Rebel Ideas, which is one of my favorites. So for a really, really challenging problem, one of the things that's quite nice to do is to agree what the boundaries are to what the boundaries to the project space beyond which we can't go beyond, and then just pulling the absolutely the right team people together, and then giving them permission to operate with all freedom within those boundaries, and whatever they come up with, you will go. You will support as the accountable person, and that for us in the past has produced some amazingly creative and brilliant responses to problems. So yeah, diversity of groups, diversity of thinking and perspectives for me is a real good opportunity here, and definitely much better than one person putting themselves in place as being problem solver in chief, for sure.
Thank you. So what can I add to these wise words already spoken? Not that much, if I'm totally honest. I do think that the solution is in the question, because ultimately the hard task for you is to stop providing the answers, stop providing the solutions. But that's not easy, especially when, and I'm making a big assumption here, but so many people like yourself have come through the ranks because you've been very good at solving problems and coming up with solutions and mobilizing the people in order to implement those solutions very successfully. So everybody sees you as a problem solver, and to a certain extent, you probably enjoy it. You probably like the fact that or the cachet that comes with, being that person who fixes things. But as my esteemed colleagues have already said, that's another way to ultimately develop your team members to come up with the solutions themselves. I think the roots for solution have already been given by Colin and Ben, but the challenge on top of that can be to also refrain from actually providing advice to your team, or sort of cajoling them gently into a certain direction. Now, that may be challenging for you as well, because you have to let go of some of those words of wisdom that are floating around in your head, but to really let them go with their solution and really let go of the need for you to sanction it. Because if you have to sanction it, it still becomes your solution. And it's very much the case that if people take their own solution, their own proposal, and work on the implementation of that, they're much more likely to do their best to make a success of it. And more importantly, as Ben also already hinted at some point, they won't need to come to you anymore for advice or approval, because they just get on with it and solve the problems and feel confident in the ability to do that. So that's my tuppence worth that I would like to add to that. So hopefully that's helpful. Thank you for your fascinating question. This was our super snappy WorkPunks session for this month. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you next time. Bye.
Bye.